Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And I'm joined today by Peter. Peter, can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do?
Certainly, Gleb, good to be with you and good to be with your audience. Peter Miscovich, I'm the Global Future of Work Leader at JLL. We're a large $23 billion real estate investment and advisory firm, and I lead our Future of Work consulting practice, helping Fortune 100 clients navigate the future of work.
So let's talk a little bit about the history of generative AI adoption in the real estate industry. And then we'll talk about a little bit about what's the situation now and then where it's going. But tell me a little bit more about the history. And I know it's kind of been a pretty quick 3 years.
Yeah, I'll just share a little bit of my own history. I've been
Yeah.
involved in AI for over 25 years.
Mm,
And I've lived through, several AI winters. I will
hmm
highlight early work with IBM and IBM Watson,
hmm
where we had a lot of interest and activity and momentum around AI and AI in particular as it would relate to corporate services and shared services. And then a lot of that evaporated after the
mm,
2010, 2014 timeframe. And then with the advent and emergence of OpenAI in November of 2022, we've seen now this reemergence of AI and advanced accelerated development. But I'll just share with you, Gleb, and the audience, the corporate real estate space is still rather embryonic and nascent
hmm
in terms of Gen AI adoption.
hmm
And we believe it will follow probably other leading corporate functions, including
hmm
finance, HR, procurement, those other, leading functions within corporate services, corporate real estate will most likely
hmm
follow in the coming 2 to 3, certainly 5 years in terms of adoption.
Now, what do you see as the differences in the rate of adoption of tech companies, which are, I was talking to the chief learning officer of Microsoft, Joe Whittinghill, just yesterday, and he was telling me about how Microsoft, throughout all of its corporate activities, has adopted generative AI, including, I'm sure, real estate. So what do you see as the differences between the bleeding edge companies that are integrating generative AI into all sorts of functionality versus companies that are still at the more embryonic stage?
I think, and I'm also working with the number of the companies, one of which you just named as well. And I think what's interesting about Microsoft and Salesforce and Google, perhaps even the Accentures of the world, they are, if you will, digitally native as
Mhm,
organizations. And they have a very strong interest, both in terms of demonstrating the capability of Gen AI to not only evangelize, but to operationalize it
mhm,
across all of their corporate functions. So I think there's a lot of motivation there
mhm,
to drink their own champagne and to show the value prop. And we have a significant relationship, with Microsoft, with Salesforce, with Google, with actually some of the AI providers
mhm,
themselves. And I think they're looking to pilot and demonstrate
mhm,
only the functionality, but also the ROI and the value
mhm,
prop of, of AI and potentially
mhm,
agentic AI, which is still, again, very nascent in the real estate space, but we do
mhm,
see that scaling over the next 2 to 3, 5 years, certainly.
mhm. Now, you're talking about them piloting some things and kind of trying some things out. Can you give me some examples of what that looks like? What are the kind of pilots that you've seen that are the most exciting?
Is three primary categories where we're seeing AI enablement in terms of the workplace and real estate
Mhm,
function. The first would be employee workplace experience. So
mhm,
how do we embed AI enablement for employees? We have
mhm,
one client, as an example, that's created a whole dining AI workflow
mhm,
capability in terms of the ability to not only predict, but to also offer food service and dining
mhm,
options via AI, as an example. Um, the secondary area would be around workplace management.
Mm,
And so we as JLL invested a lot in this space in terms of how AI can enable workplace management, facilities management,
mhm,
using computer vision, Internet of Things. For one client, we eliminated close to 700,000 man hours by
mm,
integrating Internet of Things, computer vision
mhm,
platform into the workplace management, facilities management
mhm,
ecosystem. And energy management is another big area that we're focused on. So
mm,
from a client perspective, that would be the number two category. And the third would be just
mhm,
the overall um, AI enablement in terms of analytics and
mhm,
workflow, and if you will, human plus machine augmentation to the
mhm,
function. So we see that to be probably 30 to 40% of existing workflow for the
mm,
corporate real estate function to be enabled by various AI capabilities over the next 2 to 3, 5 years.
mhm. Now, as these go forward, you're saying like 40%. A lot of people in the corporate real estate space who are working in the corporate real estate space are worried about potential job displacement. And so there's quite a bit of resistance to generative AI adoption. What do you see as some good practices for addressing this resistance?
We have found across organizations, even within our own organizations, there's sort of an interesting um, profiling that's occurring where
Hmm.
we have 20% of organizations being very enthusiastic about AI
Hmm.
adoption. We have probably 50% being somewhat neutral, mildly
Hmm.
interested, and then 30% are clear resistors.
Hmm.
And I think until the workflow integration, the ROI, and the maturity cycle advances further,
Hmm.
I think we will have 30 to 40% resisting AI adoption. And that's a bit of the, change management
Hmm.
profile curve, Gleb, that we've seen across various adoption rates, including hybrid work, including AI, including, over the years, you know, multiple different new
Hmm.
technologies. So this is where I think the enthusiasm around AI
Hmm.
is significant, but adoption and ROI and workflow integration all need to mature much further.
Hmm. Now, AI is making it easier for people to collaborate together without being in the same space. So, how do you think generative AI will impact the real estate sector in that regard?
It will depend.
Mm,
If advanced AI enablement is more place-centric and office-based,
mhm,
it may actually enable greater office centricity.
mhm,
If it becomes highly mobile
mhm,
and enabled by powerful cloud platform capabilities, then we may see further distributed work capability relative to real estate and place-based um, activities. So, and both could occur simultaneously.
mhm,
We could have very powerful AI enablement, and immersive spatial computing enablement
mhm,
in specific locational, um, settings, and simultaneously it could be made more powerful in a distributed, networked
mhm.
approach. And so I
Now,
think we're
as
watch that space, watch that evolution over the next 2 to 3, 5 years.
mhm. Now, as we wrap up, you're talking about the next 2 to 3, 5 years. What do you concretely predict will the future look like for companies in the Fortune 100 space in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, specifically in real estate? How will it be different than what we're seeing right now?
Well, clearly there'll be greater AI enablement across the real
Hmm.
estate sector, and agentic AI and this human plus machine augmentation will,
Hmm.
advance. The question will be, what does that mean from a human performance perspective? What does that mean from an upskilling
Hmm.
perspective? What does that mean in terms of your day-to-day work journey? And how do we create more personalized work and workplace efficacy?
Hmm.
So that, if the next evolution beyond the smartphone is immersive eyewear, and
Mhm.
that's all AI enabled, and that eyewear will have audio and video capabilities with agentic AI co-piloting, augmentation, then your office will be on your glasses wherever you go,
Mhm.
and you will have, you know, nonstop capabilities in terms of agentic AI
Mhm.
immersive engagement. And so that perspective, sort of opens up a whole new world in
Mhm.
terms of how we work, when we work, where
Mhm.
we work, um, and then probably beyond that, where we
Mhm.
entertain, where we learn, and this issue of place-based work modalities will probably become less important
Mhm.
if that next evolution of technology really becomes as powerful as many are forecasting that it will become. Because everything today is still very clunky.
Mhm.
It's very challenging. I mean, as humans, we're still adapting to technology. And in
Mhm.
the fifth industrial revolution, as we know, technology will adapt to us and to
Mhm.
enable us in a much more powerful way.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing your expertise, Peter. That was very, very helpful.
My pleasure. Great being with you.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps others discover the show and helps us improve the show. And if you have any questions, email me at gleb, Gleb, at disasteravoidanceexperts.com.